Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for those of you that are already jumping on live. We so appreciate you. This is another episode of Her Version. This Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Brenda Bourns. Brenda is a live event producer, sports marketer, entrepreneur, and prides herself in creating real leaders in today's ever-evolving world. Brenda is here to tell a crazy story about how she suddenly lost her right eye one night while walking her dog, and how that one incident changed the trajectory of her life. The definition of the word challenge and the word struggle shifted, and she had to make a decision as to how she was going to handle the shift with her husband and her family. We are here to talk about what healing can look like and the joys of riding a tandem bicycle. Welcome, Brenda. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yes, I had to add in that tandem bike because I had never been on a tandem bike.
So fun. It's so fun.
And I always kind of secretly wonder what it's like to be on a tandem bike, especially if you're on the back and you don't have to do as much work.
It's so great. It's so great. I wasn't sure after the accident, how my depth perception and peripheral
Yes.
vision and all of those things would be. And I saw this gentleman selling a tandem bike, and I'm like, that must be in my garage. I must have that.
Must have. Have you been on a regular bike since?
No.
Like now? Really?
No. So I think because my accident happened at the height of the pandemic,
Yeah.
Being outdoors was something that everyone was really looking to do. And I just thought, I can't have family or friends really come visit me at my home. We were under quarantine. It was really crazy rules at that time. So, but we can put on helmets and we can get on a tandem bike and have conversations and cycle around and get some exercise and laugh. And it was completely freeing. I absolutely love it.
Yes, that's awesome. Very, very cool. I'd love to see a picture of you on your tandem bike.
I'll get you one.
I love it. I love it. Well, listen, I would love to kind of just start out just diving into this crazy story.
Sure.
That I got a little tidbit of. I try not to let people tell like their whole story because I like to be, in the moment while you're telling it. But I'm so excited to just kind of hear, how this happened and
Yes.
the timeline of everything, and then we'll kind of jump into some more questions. Is that cool?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. So August 1st, our family are huge hockey fans. We're Canadian. That's what we do. We watch hockey. And our hometown Winnipeg Jets had just lost 4-1 in a playoff game. It was just before midnight, and I thought, I'm just going to take the dog, just do her business. It's beautiful out, full moon, literally going to just walk 2 blocks. On our way back to the house, I literally stopped and took a picture of this beautiful full moon. And now I'm about 30 feet from my front yard. Okay. And a little something, at the time I didn't know if it was a rabbit or a squirrel, scooted past our feet. My dog, she's just being a dog, and she reacted. And I fell to my knees and hit my face on the ground and really just was like, did I just lose my chiclets? Like, are my teeth all still there? Like, I hit it really hard. And then my dog lunged forward and I was literally about half a foot, maybe a foot away from the base of my neighbor's tree. And I hit this side of my face with such impact that it rocked me back. And I was on the front lawn, completely stunned. My head felt like an accordion, and I didn't really know what had happened. And I'm also a type 2 diabetic. So when a diabetic goes into shock, when they experience trauma, they go into something called diabetes ketoacidosis. So to give you just a little bit of a framework, for a type 2 diabetic, or for a diabetic, having your sugars between 5 and 7, they call diabetic heaven. I was at 38, which I found out afterwards when I was at the hospital. So I'm now on the ground and I'm looking around and I'm looking at all my neighbors' houses. All the lights are on because they're watching the post-game show. The game had literally just ended. My husband had gone to sleep. And I'm on the ground and I had this cognitive thought in my head, Brenda, you're in trouble. And trigger warning, but it's the honest truth. It was the heat of the blood and tasting it in my mouth that kind of jolted me. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like I've got to get home. And so I was calling out, but I was really weak. I now couldn't feel my legs. And that's when I realized like I just couldn't up and walk home. And so I'm a live event producer. I deal with chaos all the time. I've got to be the calmest person in the room. And I just really had these thoughts of, I've got to be super calm. And I put my hand on my dog's collar and tucked her under my arm. Now she's about 70 pounds. And then we call my husband Daddy. I was like, take me to Daddy. Let's go see Daddy. Okay, take me home. Harley, take me home. And she knew instantly, as soon as I hit the tree and I was bleeding, I was kind of in and out. And she kept coming back and nudging me awake, right? Like
wow.
She knew. She dragged me home.
Wow.
Across my neighbor's lawn, across our lawn, up the stairs, and barked until my husband came to the door.
Wow.
And there's something about a survivor's instinct, but there's also a mother's instinct. And for me, my daughter was at a socially distanced bonfire, and I knew she was going to be home at 1 a.m. There was no way that my daughter is coming upon a scene where her mother has a dog wrapped around, like a leash wrapped around her wrist, and I'm covered in blood on the neighbor's lawn. Like that's not happening. And this was my big driver. I just kept saying, Taya can't find me like this. Like I've got to get home. And did I know that my eye was broken? No. I played a lot of sports in my life. And, when you take a hit or you hurt yourself, I just thought maybe there was, blood behind my eye, that I've injured my eye, but I didn't think I had lost it. We get home, my husband comes to the door, and it looks like a crime scene. Like I'm covered in blood, the dog's covered in blood, the front steps are covered in blood, and he's just like, what is going on? And I'm like, just get me some ice. Like, that's all I could say was get me some ice. And I made my way to the bathroom and I took a picture because I couldn't see anything. So I took a picture on my cell phone and then I expanded it and I'm looking and looking to see, like, what have I done? Like, what happened? And then I wasn't thinking properly, but I sent a picture to my daughter with a voice memo saying, accident, come home. Because I knew she was going to be home in an hour and we were going to be gone. And I didn't want her coming upon a scene where we're gone and there's just blood all over. And she, right? Like I wasn't really thinking properly. And so, she's at this bonfire. She gets this message. She's like, I know I just got here, but I got to go home now. And raced home, but we were already gone to the hospital. Now, I had surgery on this eye 2 years prior. The eye hospital in our community is 4 minutes from our house.
Wow.
There wasn't the thought to call an ambulance. It was like, just get in the vehicle and go to the hospital. So we pull in there, and it used to be a full hospital before it became urgent care for eyes. And they made a call and they said, oh, you need a scan. And our scanner has gone home. It's the August long weekend in Canada. They left at 11:30 and I rolled in there just after midnight. And so they're like, you need to go to the other hospital. But I guess the biggest error is they didn't call an ambulance for me to take me to the nearest hospital. And my husband's like, St. Boniface? We should have gone to Health Sciences Center, but he said, St. Boniface? And they're like, yes. We got into the car and drove. My husband was driving like a maniac and I was holding my eyeball in. And we pull up to the hospital emergency and the nurse there's like, where did you come from? And we said, oh, the other hospital. She's like, okay, that's not proper protocol. Like, but I think everyone was kind of a bit of a panic and it was COVID and she said, by the way, sorry, husband, you can't come in. It's
wow. COVID. Yeah.
So in the wheelchair, go get the scans. My husband calls at 6 a.m. and he says, I dropped my wife off. I'm just curious how she is. Just wanted to see, touch base. They're like, go into the computer. Oh, she's not here. She's been taken back to the other hospital. He's like, what? Was somebody going to let me know?
Wait, so they scanned your eye and then sent you back?
They did the brain head scan because they needed to know what they were looking and dealing with. And then they sent me back by ambulance to the eye hospital.
Wow.
But they hadn't contacted my family because it was happening at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Because we live 4 minutes from that other hospital. Literally, my husband called St. B at 6 and he was at my bedside by 6:10.
Wow.
And he didn't care if there was COVID. He was at my room. We were talking to the surgeons and they said, we actually can't put you under surgery yet because your sugars are too high. It's too dangerous. So we need to bring your sugars down. And then Randy was sent home. They called him half an hour into my surgery and they said, we're sorry. We're 99% sure that we can't save her eye.
Wow.
We need your consent to remove it.
Wow.
My husband was beyond devastated.
Yeah.
And he said, well, what are the options? And they said, typically when we see this kind of injury, we would go through and make sure that everything's in the right order, like your lens, et cetera, et cetera. And we would literally sew up the eye, let you heal for 6 weeks, and then you can come back. We'll take everything out and perhaps we can get your sight back. They're like, but we are 99% sure, but we'll sew her up if you want us to explain this to her. And he said, I don't want my wife coming home and healing, knowing that she has to give up her eye in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You guys are professionals. If you feel it's 99%, just take out the eye and we'll deal with it, which was the absolute right decision.
Wow.
So I come to, and my husband is beside himself. He can't stop crying. And then I found myself taking care of him. I'm like, it's okay. I'll be okay. Like, I was really in this mode of, okay, this is my new reality and I'm just going to figure it out.
Wow.
And within maybe 40 minutes of my injury or me coming to, I was back in another ambulance saying goodbye to my family. Now I had to go back to that other hospital because they had to deal with the diabetes ketoacidosis.
Wow.
And so it was a journey for sure. I don't recommend losing an eye during a pandemic.
Yes.
I was very, I don't know, I think, well, I know one thing for certain, that I was raised by a strong woman. And I think that we are all our life experiences teach us how to deal with certain things.
Yeah.
And I've never once had the pity party. I have never once cried over the loss of my eye. I went into this mode of, okay, I just have to train and I have to practice and I have to, like, I'm the world's worst cook. Let's just be honest. I can't cook. I can't bake. What did I do after my injury? I wanted to practice fine motor skills to get this eye stronger. I'm baking, I'm measuring, but anyways, I'd make waffles. I was trying things all the time because it was my goal to live a very full life. Within 2 weeks of my accident, I was back out jogging 5K with my dog and, you know, sporting my patch. And I would look at the mud or the gravel or the leaves in the fall and just try to understand how monocular vision works and how do I adjust to just seeing out of one eye. And it is very, very different. It's very, very, very different.
What's the difference? Tell me.
So, well, for one, I'll never be able to watch a 3D movie. Wanted to go see 3D Spider-Man. 3D doesn't work for people with one eye. It doesn't work, right? So for me, visually, there are stops where like I can't see peripherally. So when you're driving, you're doing the full turn. When you are like, I can't even tell you how many times I've smacked the shoulder into walls by accident, just walking like, I misjudged that.
Wow.
When you're pouring your coffee, everything looks very different. So it takes some adjustment. Now, I injured myself at the height of the pandemic. We were all under quarantine. So I haven't gotten back to driving yet because where I live, it's very harsh winters. And I just thought, I don't want to relearn how to drive in a Winnipeg winter.
Yeah.
With depth perception and peripheral vision issues, right?
Yeah.
Then it became summer and spring, but my husband and daughter would just kind of drive me around, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But now we've gone through a second winter, and I'm like, okay, I've really been doing my practicing. I'm really challenging myself. I'm playing pickleball. I'm doing things that get me back into normalcy for Brenda. I was a very active person, playing sports and very active, and I can't see myself not being active. I've gone golfing. Let me tell you, I hit the ball way better with one eye than I ever did with two. So that whole thing about keep your eye on the ball, that's a true thing. I tried hitting a softball. I could do that. So every day I was trying to challenge myself to get back to a vibrant life.
Yeah.
That's why I bought the tandem bike.
Yeah.
And shortly after my injury,